None.
I'd like permission of the committee to actually move the order of business and take the item on polling stations next. Is that agreed? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. The report we have before you this evening advises the committee on the findings of the statutory review of the polling districts and polling places ahead of the UK parliamentary elections, and seeks the committee's approval on behalf of the acting returning officer's proposal that these proposals take effect in time for the 1st of December publication of the revised register of electors. In addition to that, the committee is asked to instruct that an annual review of polling arrangements take place and that revised polling arrangements be submitted to the committee each year following this review. The proposals are laid out in Appendix A through to C in relation to the proposed polling place arrangements, and in Appendix D in relation to the proposed new polling district arrangements. And myself and John Bailey, Election Project Manager, are here to take any questions in relation to the review.
Before we start, I'd like to note some amendments on page 298. Very top of the page, it says decisions, action group recommendations. Okay, noting that, and the decision or recommendation number 3 needs to be amended. I think Mr. Bailey has the wording on that. Also 4.2 on page 299 is to be amended. And on page 3.2, background papers, point 2, we need to add in that the Chief Exec has this responsibility in the event of a late change of location. Are those amendments agreed? Good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions?
Chairman, thank you. Just one for the officers. Recommendation that we review polling districts every year, but I just want to know what could change in a year that means that every single year we need to review this. It seems to be quite a involved process, and does it have to be once a year?
Mr. Bailey will clarify the words.
Thank you.
The reason to do it every year is actually to save us time, I think. The legislation that was brought in with the fixed term parliaments asks that the review take place every 5 years. The problem we have is that in 5 years a lot could change. We need to react when we've got new housing, potential changes to the franchises which should come through legislation. So those sorts of things where we'd like to react more regularly rather than the 5 years.
Small reviews every year will be quicker in the long run than one big one every 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Just have a follow-up on that. What you're reviewing is obviously polling districts and polling stations, but given that there is obviously big changes, could you, remind the committee, this is me, I'm not sure, if there was a review of wall boundaries themselves, that would be through the electoral commission, and is it what requested, is it, or?
No, so you can't do that through a review of polling districts and polling
Yeah.
places. That has to be a local boundary commission request to change a ward boundary.
Right, but it has to be a request from the council.
Yes.
It's obviously numbers are changing all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, thanks very much. I've just said, due to the fixed parliament, this issue is arrived. How was it done before?
So previously the law simply said it had to hold a review every 4 years. Now they've made it every 5 years, but it must take place in a 16-month period ahead of the Parliament Day, the general election day. So this review has to be completed by the end of January by law. The next one then wouldn't take place until 2020 effectively, but ahead of the 2020 general election. But we want to review them more regularly than that because we've got too many regenerations and other things that can change the Parliament.
Yes, so given the fact that these reviews have become sort of the law or legislative, what are the criteria for reviewing it?
And so what you have to review hasn't changed, just when you have to review them has changed. So what you still have to do is just look at what makes it an accessible, suitable facility, and all electors have annual access to a local fire station.
Are we going to look at the detail?
Sorry?
So are we going to go through, right, if we start with just Appendix A, not a big problem, policy in changes, and I don't know, but from outside there's no mystery objection on section 1C. The Freehold Community Centre is in Harringay, is that an issue?
It's the Freehold Community Centre, you enter it in Barnet actually.
Yes, but the building is in
The
Harringay.
building that is actually a Barnet building.
Oh, no,
It's
no.
not shown, so essentially for our electors it is still in.
That's fine, I think that was any technical thing about getting permission from the neighbouring
No.
council.
They and Harringay actually brought forward having they've got a few residences nearby.
Apart from that, on the trip by it, we've got absolutely,
Councillor Prentice?
Yes, I've got some, please. On CDB, I want to leave as existing in portable offices on the corner of Balmoral Avenue and Regal Drive. CDC, do not move one station to new polling station, CDD, so leave as existing. And CDD, leave as existing in the Hindu Cultural Centre and do not take one station from CDC. Want me to go through again? Have you got those?
Yes, do you want to say why I think we should move them more?
You may, but there's amendments to the report.
So the proposal's been made on the basis that we think more electors will have easy access to a polling station. Portable offices in particular are always undesirable as polling stations. In this instance, we have the opportunity to use the St John's Church Parish Hall, which has got level access and we used to have temporary ramps that are currently required at portable offices. There's parking immediately outside, and a number of electors would actually find a place much closer to going to the portable offices.
Just on that particular one, as it came up, yeah, I mean, the other problem with the portable office is that it's at the, obviously by the station, it's at the end of a rectangular polling district. So it is it's almost the furthest point you can be from the majority of electors. So I do agree with what said that. I think it'd be a bad principle to start saying, well, we need it away from where most people live. And then not only do we want to move it away from where most people live, we want to have it where there isn't perfect disabled access, where there's no parking or anything to go well. Whereas the proposed one I was happy with because you can fully park nearby you, and it is all on one level, and I think we do have to think about people with mobility problems and disability where polling stations are.
Are we going to vote? Hopefully, we're going to vote on what Councillor Prentice at the end. Okay. Amendments. Well, rather, I'm a big fan of trying to keep things within. In all honesty, people have just voted in May this year. I think if we change things too much, it can actually people will be confused as going to polling stations. There will be reason detail on the card. So for that reason, I propose as minimum change as possible. But in particular, in the Henry constituency. In Hale wards, HOC, I don't want any polling stations moved from Deansborough School, and therefore HOF, there'd be no, that proposal would not be needed. In the Edgeworth wards, HUB, again, the proposal there to be withdrawn and for the polling stations to be left at Edgeworth Parish Hall. So there's three proposals there that I think should be withdrawn.
Yeah, can I just confirm that there's an additional polling station in HOC or HOF? It's additional to Deansbrook School, it's not replacing Deansbrook School. So I don't quite understand Councillor's comment about moving it. It's an additional polling station. Annunciation, which I support wholeheartedly because we've had a lot of complaints about people getting to Deansbrook from HSC, the southern part of HSC. It's a 1.7 mile walk to go to Deansbrook School. And it affects about 2,000 electors, and it's ridiculous not to support an extra polling station. It just enfranchises at least 2,000 voters. So I can't really see I can't see why you're opposing it, Councillor Thomas.
If it helps Councillor Thomas, we could take out the odd possibly do, because that will ensure that a polling station remains at the school.
The proposal is actually to by putting in the new Bugle, we remove a certain number of electors. I took a report earlier today, it actually is 1,729 parliamentary electors that we're proposing to make a new polling place. The legislation requires that the returning officer decide how many stations are required at any polling place. On the numbers we have at the moment, we would propose that we would keep 2 polling stations in the school, and 1 would move to Annunciation School. One of the key considerations here actually was that the hall that we have to use at the English school is very, very tight to hold 3 polling stations into 1 hall. And so we do have a bit of an issue, especially if you get a high turnout at the general election in managing. There's also a new law in terms of queuing at 10 p.m. that we're anxious to be prepared for.
Well, I mean, if the problem is queuing, Chairman, then perhaps we can put an extra facility or space at that site. But as I say, I'm not particularly keen on moving sites, moving things around. So my request for withdrawal still stands. And I would request officers that instead of creating a whole new station, they ask for another route to be made available, more space to be available. I'm not going to withdraw my request.
Can we not use the microphones? Apparently they can't go through into the
Oh, right.
school. They didn't hear everything was said, which is disrupting their meeting.
Not as simple as that.
Have there any more announcements on this item?
My outreach is on Appendix C. Appendix C, I just don't see, it doesn't sound for me why they're moving Banfield School down to St. Alfred, because the most precarious thing that you said, moving down up to Banfield School, transportation will be a problem, because Banfield School, the underground station is closer, bus stops is closer, access is very accessible, moving down is very awkward. There's a lot of obscurity there, so I mean, for me, I disagree with moving Banfield School to St. Alfred and Church High. I mean, with all of that, I see that it makes no sense. If you take, and there's not been any new generation areas, and I don't see any of the, I don't know for what purposes, I mean, they want to move that one. People know that, and transportation, buses, they're all just tucked down there, around the road, and the facility will be very good there. There's a car park at Dental Grade Park, it's a summertime, it's right, and they could walk around fresh. But over down there at Montrose Avenue, I think people will become confused, so I disagree with that one.
The issue we have in Barnet School is that the number of electors at the local election, registered electors, was 2,900. It will be slightly lower at the general election because European electors don't have a franchise. However, it's still going to go over the number of electors that is recommended by the Electoral Commission for a single station. We have spoken to the school. They can provide an additional room, but it's going to be very difficult to explain to 2 sets of electors going to the same place that they actually have to go to different parts of the school. St. Alfred allows us to use 1 hall and have all of the electors going into a single hall. So we think the facility is therefore for most of our files.
Well, I still where disability is complete, access and public transportation. We hear again that we don't want people to drive with their cars, because of buses. It's very closer. People use underground. It's very closer. If they use their cars, it's very closer. The bunch of parking centers is very closer to the amount of work they do. And other facilities, I mean, people are around that. More than that is subscale.
Yeah, when you said that the record, when you said about the recommendation is of the electoral commission to, if you can, to get over under 2,000, then I might propose a request to both the Councillor Thomas and Councillor Prentice, who have put forward an idea of keeping a polling district of well over 4,000, because not only in the Howe and HOC well over 4,000, but more than twice the recommendation of the electoral commission. The present CDC, the intent is over 4,000.
It's the number of electors assigned to a polling station.
Yeah, it can be the same polling district.
Polling station.
But I'm sorry, both of these, the Deansborough of 1 and the People of 4, there is one polling station for that polling district.
Polling place.
And in each of those, there's over 4,000 electors for that one polling place. So I wonder if Councillor Prentice and Councillor Thomas can explain why they are in such defiance of the electoral commission.
Councillor Royce, I don't think they need to explain.
Or can explain.
Legally, we've got to explain their budget, so
Are you
yeah.
happy
To disadvantage the disabled and elderly.
Oh, sorry, Bob.
Yeah.
Barnfield School, as Mr. Bailey has explained, with the extra room, because if you are, you will support that. You want it left?
No, I want
Barnfield School.
to remain as where it was.
Barnfield School?
Yeah,
Yeah, you want it to remain there.
yeah,
That's what we're saying.
yeah.
We will support that.
Yes, yeah.
There's no problem
Yeah.
with the extra room,
Yes, with the extra room, I think quite a lot, yeah.
With the Mill Hill one, that is HPC, there has been a request for better signage to tell people where they need to go and vote. And so there's a bit of confusion in the local elections on that one. Right, have you got any questions to ask Mr. Bailey?
Chairman, when you made the amendments, did it include page 326, where they mistakenly put East Barnet Library instead of East Finchley Library? At the top of the page there. Just for that correction to be noted, so it will need to match.
On the top.
Yeah.
East Barnet Library?
Yeah, where it says proposed, it says East Barnet Library, it should say East Finchley Library.
Because it's got East Barnet and East Finchley, which...
They've got a long way to go.
On the library, one question. Is there any recommendations about the size of the polling place? I mean, I'm just thinking it's very difficult to imagine the East Finchley or the Edgware having all the books and computers and a polling place within 540 square feet. It's almost impossible to run an election. Is there any advice over the size?
No, you have enough space for all the The proposal there, we intend to use the IT room in.
Yes, got it on the stock. Could I ask the Chair how we can vote it? Because, I mean, it's one of these things where 9 counties agree there's no trains and nobody that issue. On the ones where there are particular issues,
We'll just have to have amendments.
right. So we take them set. Right, so there's one vote for those without amendment, which we can agree again on the one where there's a suggested amendment.
So on page 303 on the Chipping Barnet, I've got amendments to CBD, CDC and CDD.
CDB, yeah.
Sorry, say that.
CDB,
Yeah. CDC.
CDC,
and CDD has not been approved. And on page 341, HOC, HOF and HUB not being approved, and then from Councillor Owen Corley, HTC not being approved. Is that correct? And then there's also an amendment to recommendation 3, which is helpful if Mr. Bailey would just clarify the wording of which I wasn't picked up in your introduction, Chairman.
So this would be to recommendation 3 to be approval of a review of polling districts and polling places to be submitted to the General Functions Committee each year, following any borough-wide elections or a date determined by the committee.
So we're moving forward and also 4.2 needs to reflect as well. Those amendments agreed. So we'll take vote on page 303, Chicken Barnet and Council Councillors amendments. Do you want those taken separately?
Sorry.
Do you want Chicken Barnet taken separately?
All changes, I mean, I think we're all agreed on the other 6 wards where there's no trains, so no problem with that. The only issue is the one ward topic, which I think there's been a move to keep one as well over 4,000 and keep one of the polling stations away from the majority of the population, and in the state that's not accessible to disabled, or not easily accessible to disabled people, then we would want the officer's recommendations of that to the disabled people.
So we'll vote on CDB, the proposal is to leave it as now. Those in favour of that, please show. Those against, please show. Thank you. CDC, leave it as now. Those in favour, please show. Those against. Thank you. And CDD, is none. Bugle Community Centre is agreed, that's one. The Hindu Cultural Centre, have you done that? Route to St John's Parish Church is okay. It's just those couple of items. Right, we'll go on to Hendon. HOC, George Bishop.
So can I just clarify, because the proposal for the Hindu Cultural Centre was to combine it with CDB.
Well, that's not what it is.
No,
The
so-
CDB is not agreed to move it up. So CDB was moved to...
I think what it is, CDB and CDD remain as they are where the polling stations are at the moment. I mean, I disagree with that's how it's
And the CDG is to leave as existing in the Hindu Cultural Centre and do not take on from the community centre.
Councillor Thomas's amendment.
On page 341, HOC is to retain as is. Is that correct? Yes. Is that?
We disagree with that.
So those in favour, please show.
This is
Those
over 4,000.
HOF is to retain, be retained as it is, so that's the recommendation. Sorry, correct.
So there won't be an HOF if it
Right, okay, so that's HOF, that falls away, which is HUB, HOF Parish Hall, moved to Edgware Library.
To leave it as now.
Is that
Do we need to vote on that?
agreed?
That's agreed. Okay.
And then Councillor Corley on HTC.
We will do on that, we'll leave that as now.
Yeah.
The vote also.
You need a formal vote on the whole package, or
Yes.
Sorry.
So, Those amendments.
Those in favour of the recommendations as amended, please show. Those against, please show.